Hey guys, it's Sai, and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. We are your one-stop shop for interviews, podcast content, and a whole variety of subjects, including and not limited to mental health, football, films, TV, wrestling, music, and much more. Today's episode is the fourth episode in our series on conspiracy theories. It's one of the biggest conspiracy theories out there: secret societies. To join me as we take a trip down the rabbit hole of paranoia and secrecy is my co-host Rhys. Welcome, Rhys. You right, buddy?
Right, Si, good to be back.
It's Saturday night. It's different for us. We normally do it like on a Thursday or a Friday. Promised my missus I wouldn't do any on the weekend, and we're like 7 weeks in, and I've done about 3 on a Saturday. So yeah, less said about that, the better. So it's been a busy week, so we've moved it about a bit. I think I'm going to still put it out tonight because Saturday's been the night I've been putting them out, so I want to keep them on the same day. Before we head down the terrifying and weird roads to conspiracy theories, I want to point out that just because we discuss a particular theory, it doesn't mean that we believe it to be true, agree with the points of view, or in any way think that this is how it went down. We are simply discussing popular theories and evidence presented by the people who champion them. That's a little disclaimer because people can get a bit funny or a bit offended or whatever it may be, rightly or wrongly. If you talk about conspiracy theories sometimes and they think you're trying to push a certain narrative or you're disrespecting people who've been affected by it. And that's not the case. We just find them interesting. And
also, we don't want any governments assassinating us, okay?
yeah, absolutely. 9/11 was not an inside job. No, but yeah, it's like, it's interesting, mate. At the end of the day, it's like all the different theories, and like we're starting to get into the juicy ones now. So I just think it's interesting to talk about.
If it wasn't interesting, there wouldn't be so many people interested in it.
I admit, and people seem to be watching them as well. So like, I think they're all on nice amount of views. So
everyone wants to see a conspiracy theory proved right, don't they? That's the ultimate goal, sort of thing.
Well, you know what to do then, don't you? You need to watch the flat Earth one, where I've got to argue that the Earth's flat. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be an awesome.
Christ. It's going to be funny, mate. And it's going to be like, I'm going to have to get drunk for that one, I think, because I've got the raw end of the stick on that one, I think. But I'll give it a whack, I'll give it a go, and I'm going to research it properly, and I'm going to listen to all the people who spout it, and we'll see where it goes.
I got a friend who's a proper flat earther, mate, and I can't fathom it. I just can't. It's no. Right. Let's not go there now. Get him right. You're
gonna have to get some. You're gonna have to get some inside knowledge off your mate, I think. But yeah, like I said, flat Earth, 9/11, secret societies, whatever it may be, I find them interesting, so I tend to watch a lot of them. So, what is a secret society? Well, it's in the name's in the title, I guess. It's secret society is a club, an organization whose activities, events, or inner functioning or membership are concealed from non-members. The society may or may not attempt to conceal its existence. The term usually excludes covert groups such as intelligence agencies or guerrilla insurgencies. That's bollocks for a start. Sorry. That's bollocks, because some of the biggest, like for instance, like Illuminati and Skull and Bones, heavily linked to like government agencies and the CIA. So that's fucking bullshit.
They are linked to them, but what it's saying is the CIA itself isn't a secret society, but there is branches of it involved in secret societies.
Yeah, possibly.
Or more so, the secret societies control organizations like the CIA.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. As always, mate, you're the voice of reason. So we'll leave the Illuminati till last. We'll start with the one which you're most familiar with because you're a spy. The Freemasons. Go on, you take us away for the Freemasons, mate.
Everyone thinks the Freemasons is a massive secret society. And to be fair, up until a few years ago, they were very secretive with everything they do. But now they openly talk about the ceremonies and what they do, etc. I spent 3 years in the Masons. I was a master Mason. I went through 3 of the ceremonies, and they're a little bit strange. We'll go with that. Like the first one, you go into their temple, but you go in blindfolded with a noose around your neck and a dagger to your heart. And there is an actual noose around your neck, and there is someone stood in front of you with a dagger. Obviously, not a pointy one. Well, I hope it wasn't. You also have one of your socks comes off and your trouser leg is rolled up and you wear a slipper. You undo your shirt buttons and your left breast is exposed, hence for the dagger. The reason being behind this is if you try to take the secrets of the Masonic Society and run away to teach them to others, the noose is to stop you running away, and the dagger you'll run onto, and the blindfold you won't see where you're running anyway, basically. But these are the ceremonies that have been around since Freemasonry was introduced. So I mean that's actually quite good considering the amount of time it's been around and how ruthless people were back then. That's actually quite tame.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been around. I'm trying to find now where it's 14th century.
14,
it seems to have started.
2 or something like that. That's ringing a bell. I think it was. Well, they say it kind of followed on from the Knights Templar, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, there is rumour of that, but there's also it's to do with King Solomon.
Okay.
His Masons, and at the time, Masons were the only trade where basically they thought they had knowledge and power because they were the only ones who could really build everything.
So, like looking into a lot of these, so like I looked in, you did the Freemason stuff, and I looked into Illuminati and Skull and Bones, and they all seem to revolve around thinking they've got a lot of knowledge, more knowledge than the general public or the non-members, and they all seem to position themselves in positions of power. So, like the Freemasonry or the Masonry consists of a fraternal organization that traces their origins back to the stonemasons, and they're like a fraternity. A lot of the info says, like you say, back to the 14th century. So there's different degrees of Freemasonry in there. And I think it says the degrees of Freemasonry retained the 3 grades are apprentice, journeyman, and
Master.
Journeyman or fellow, now called fellowcraft, and the Master Mason. So the Master Mason, which is what you are, that's like the top billing, is it?
No. There's a lot higher you can go than that.
So what are they called then after the Master Mason?
Worshipful Masters. They're the ones who will basically every year there's a new Worshipful Master elected who basically just chairs the temple.
And lodge, isn't it? Is it called the lodge?
Yeah, each one is called a lodge, but it's basically an excuse for men to socialize. It's good, very good for business networking. And like you've got to take your hat off to them. The amount they give to charity is unbelievable.
So what do they do? Just meet up like once a week? Is there somewhere in the lodge or whatever it is?
Each lodge will usually meet about 6-7 times a year.
Oh, okay.
And that's just for the lodge nights. As well as that, they'll have things like a ladies' night where all the Masons bring their wives' partners, And they'll have, you know, a live show or a live band, and you have a 5-course meal, and it's just a social night. But they have charity raffles, etc., etc. The last one I went to, because my stepfather is still a Mason, so I went there with my mum and stepdad, and they had Britain's #1 Take That tribute band as the act, and they were amazing, to be fair. And they had a raffle with like signed Welsh rugby ball, all sports memorabilia, all this sort of thing, and it all goes to charity.
I see.
No women are allowed in the temple.
I was going to say that there used to be that no women were allowed to the meetings either, wasn't there? But I think
they weren't even allowed to go to the social nights. But obviously now they have ladies' nights and other things as well.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of for your experience, before I go into like some of the stuff which I came across, did you like was the initial ceremony to become a Mason like the only sort of like a bit weird ceremony that you had to do, or was there any other sort of people who were not involved?
To become the Master Mason, you have to do 3 different ceremonies.
Right. Okay.
The 3rd ceremony, it basically ends with you being lowered onto this carpet. There is a picture of a coffin.
All right.
By other Masons.
Okay.
But it's not the way it sounds devil worshipy, etc., etc. It's not. It's your transfer to a higher echelon, shall we say? You know, you've gained.
Did you ever see the video which Alex Jones took when he went inside? Like, I don't think it was a Mason. I think it had like Masonic, like types of things around the ceremony. But he and it was like this big, huge, like mansion place, like really old looking building with like torches everywhere. They all had on like red cloaks and hoods, and they had like torches lit, and they were all like screaming like the devil and all this type of stuff. And it was really like, it's really unsettling to watch, because a lot of the people there were like the upper echelons of the United States government and governments from around the world. And it's really weird, mate. I'm surprised you haven't seen it, actually.
When you just said about the American government, then the one thing I did get told, I'm not sure how true it is, but there has never ever been a member of Senate who's not a Freemason. I mean, I don't know how true that is. So obviously, there's never been a president who's not a Freemason.
No.
One of the major rules of Freemasonry, you can get invited to any lodge in the UK, and you can go along. You know, if a Mason from that lodge invites another Mason, you can go along for a meal, whatever it might be. To go to Freemason lodge abroad, you need to write to the British Freemason Society asking permission.
Okay.
Reason being, maybe like you go to Sicily, pretty much every Freemason there is mafioso. Like I've said, you go to America, the Senate. You know, it's
different.
And a lot of them take it very, very serious.
Yeah. They wouldn't accept like messing about or like any gig. You don't want to get the giggling fits in the middle of a ceremony. Like, I can imagine they take that quite personally. Like,
well, funnily enough, when I did my second ceremony to get to level 2, they'll give you a booklet with what you're going to be asked a load of questions, and you've got to remember all these answers. Took me weeks upon weeks to memorize this book. When it came to the ceremony, he asked me the first question. I looked at him and I was like, "You what?" They'd given me the wrong book.
No, mate.
I'd memorized all the questions for the 3rd degree for the Master Mason, and there was absolute uproar. To be fair, I winged it quite well, mate. A lot of the answers I gave were pretty much what they'd had wrote down in the book, so I did all right. But after it, there was absolute uproar, and they were so apologetic to me and things, as if it was disrespectful to me. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah,
I'm stood in this room with like 300 people watching me, and I'm just winging it.
So, like on the conspiracy side of it as well, then what people say is like, you know, like you see like pop stars and celebrities when they have like pictures and stuff, they'll be given like a triangle, or they'll be doing like three fingers, or like different ways of paying homage to the like the three things of the Masons and all this type of jazz. And so quite often you'll see like famous people, famous politicians, royal families, they'll have their hands in certain ways. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they're like, whether it's something like a triangle or a point, or like holding
It's the tools
other
of
fingers.
masonry.
That's it. That's the one.
But it's basically the way royals, politicians, a lot of them hold their hands like that. That's just the way the upper echelon of society hold their hands. Like with everyone knows about the Masons and the Secret Handshake.
Yeah.
Well, there may be more, but I was only ever taught 3 different handshakes to show the 3 levels of masonry that I went through. I could shake your hand with them 3 different handshakes all day long, and you would not know. It is the slightest, tiniest, subtlest little thing. And that's how, and like, I'll be honest, if you go say I went to a bank meeting or something, you shake the bank manager's hand and you'll know if they're giving you that handshake back. And every Mason who's basically a Master Mason or above shakes their hand this way. So and the reason this all came about was basically there's a conspiracy that's been around for hundreds of years that the Jews started Freemasonry and it's their way to take over the world. Mm-hmm. So the reason this handshake, and you know the forget-me-not flower?
Yeah.
Well, you'll see people walking around with a forget-me-not on their lapel. And that was because the only other people Hitler hated more than Jews was the Freemasons, because of this theory. So they'd either walk around with a forget-me-not flower so people would know who the Masons were, and thus the handshake was developed. But it's done in such a subtle way, I could walk up to Hitler and shake his hand and he wouldn't know. But you know when somebody is shaking your hand this way.
Got you.
So, I don't want to give away the handshakes because I don't know if they've ever been told, to be honest, and I don't want to be that guy.
I think I don't want to just like ruin it for everyone all around the world.
Yeah, I don't want to be that. You come on, you don't want Nigel, your local crackhead, walking up to his bank manager giving him this handshake. It's gonna look a bit iffy.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy who like outs them completely, ruins it for the millions around the world. Then they will be after you, mate.
I'm all up for the conspiracy theory and things, but yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
So, like, in terms of conspiracy side of it, there's like a number of claims, but predominantly by conservative Protestants, who are like the opposite, if you like, in terms of like Freemasons, because Freemasons is classed as a religion, which I didn't know. So the conspiracy theory regarding the sort of this part of it was that the Freemasons at the very top, highest degrees deceive the ones at the lower degrees, and they gradually reveal separate and occult religion and this type of stuff, and that the Freemasons worship Lucifer or Satan, and you know, all stuff like this.
Yes and no. This is where it gets a bit technical, because the way they put it across, they believe in, they don't say God, an almighty, should we say. They believe in, a higher being, but they accept all religions into Freemasonry. And it's not religion, nothing like that was ever rammed down my throat. There was never,
no, of course,
not even the subtlest hint of it.
But I will say,
I don't think it's so much the religion side of it. I think it's more, it's not religion. It's not a god. It's a higher power. It's a higher being.
Yeah.
It's not a religion. It's almost down the alien route.
Yeah, like the humanoid reptiles, which is another one on my list. David Icke believes that the Freemasons. So David Icke, let's cut a long story short. David Icke believes that there is humanoid or humans who can transform into reptilians, and that's their true form. He believes, I think, is the Queen is a reptilian, and all these higher echelons of society, the real power players around the world, they're actually reptilians who feed on fear and blood and all that. It's just way out there, and we will do a show on it because it's crazy, mate.
Yeah, Ike has thrown it way too far and made it unbelievable. This is why they promote him and publicise him so much. He's a fruit. Let's be fair. Going back to the alien thing, the lizard people who live off fear, all that sounds like a load of bollocks, to be fair, doesn't it? But
it does.
If there is aliens out there who are a higher intelligence, it would make sense they've got people in power who are either under their influence or one of them. I don't think they're going to turn into, an iguana and
no, of course
down
not.
your bamboo or something. But
if you think as well, mate, say they did feed on like fear or like some sort of. So I think his theory is that they feed off like fear because you can't see fear, but when your body is like when your body produces so do you know have you ever heard of the plant DMT, which people smoke to hallucinate it, and quite often they say that it's like they've been to another dimension when they smoke it. So your brain, your pituitary gland, I can't pronounce it, I'm not going to try because I'll be here all day, but this gland in your brain, it produces DMT. And what David Icke believes is that when you are so scared, or when you hit like a certain level of fear, your brain produces this thing, and this is what he thinks. That's what the reptilian aliens, whatever you want to call them, that's what they try to produce. That's what they feed on. That's what they live off. Blah blah blah. Obviously, that's way out there, and we probably will end up doing a show on it, but it'll probably be like way down the line when we start getting a bit thin on the ground. But it's a shame because some of David Icke's early work on stuff like 9/11 and stuff like that is really good. But he's the sort of person who now gives people who believe in true conspiracies like 9/11 or JFK and stuff like that, where there is something gone on which needs to be investigated thoroughly, but they all get lumped in together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a bit, it's a shame. Obviously, there's people who believe that there's links to the Illuminati and Masonry, and I'll touch on that a bit more when we get to the Illuminati stuff. Obviously, that's where things like the people believe that the Freemasons faked the moon landing. They believed that they were involved in September 11. All these different things, including things like Jack the Ripper, John F. Kennedy, and stuff like that, which is a bit more real world compared to, the moon and the humanoid reptiles. But there's a lot of people, and I would say there is some evidence. I don't know if I'd go as far to say a lot, but there is some evidence that they've, if not the Masons, some sort of secret society, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, New World Order, they do have a hand in these things. And I think when we do discuss 9/11, it'll be very easy to prove that they got a hand in certain things behind the scenes and the preparation for it.
Yeah.
Masons, obviously, they believe a lot in like the power of numbers, don't they, and symbols. So people believe that because you see so many of these symbols in like the NASA logo and corporate logos and pop videos and things like that. So I think that's another reason why people, like we said about the hands in the pictures. Obviously, you have all the pop stars who cover their eye, which is supposed to, that's more Illuminati. But you know, it's that type of symbolism.
That's based on the all-seeing eye, isn't it? The one eye,
Yeah,
the all-seeing eye.
So like, yeah, and I mean everything I've looked at, I've got to say, when I've looked at like the Masons, and then I've looked at like the Illuminati and the New World Order, the Masons does seem to be more like a fraternity of like guys. I'm not saying that there isn't any sort of conspiracy there, because I do think that the very highest Masons have probably been involved in various conspiracies. But I wonder whether it's not necessarily because they're Masons, and more just because they're at the higher end of the political world, whereas the Illuminati does lean towards that sort of occult and like Satan and that type of stuff.
Freemasonry is quite open now, isn't it? You know, you don't hear of the local Illuminati having a charity ball.
No, you do not.
You know, so they're two totally different. To me, they're two totally different. Like you say, though, once you get to the higher ranks of it, you'll guarantee there's people there who've been involved in conspiracies. You know, they're going to be powerful people within governments, corporations, whatever it might be. They're bound to be involved in underhand things. They just happen to be Freemasons.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think Freemasons as such is hiding a big secret, or, you know, there's underhand things going on. At the top of it, there may well be, but as a general, they're just a gentleman's club without the.
Okay, so if we move from the Masons and the Freemasons, let's move to Skull and Bones. We're working up slowly to the Illuminati and the New World Order. We're getting there, but we're not quite there. The Skull and Bones one is an interesting one because they featured what is that film
with Dawson's Creek lad? What's his name?
Pacey, innit? Not Pacey.
Isn't it just called Skull and Bones? The Skulls.
No, it's not. The Skulls, that's it. And it's so obviously about the Skull and Bones secret society, but they call it the Skulls. Yeah. And there's like conspiracies and this is the thing, isn't it, about a lot of these conspiracies, is that people believe that the people who are behind them all use things like pop culture to basically almost taunt the people who are aware of them and researching them, and they're trying to, you know, bring eyes to them. They almost use this pop culture of these films, these movies, these TV shows and pop videos and pictures and stuff. They say that they're trying to taunt them into, you know, we know, you know, but there's nothing you can do about it type of thing. And also,
like, you know, the untouchables will always want to show how untouchable they are.
Yeah, and then obviously the people who don't believe in it and don't research and are completely oblivious, they're showing that, you know, they're cleverer than them because they don't need to, you know, we're telling them to their face, we're showing them that this is going on, and they still don't believe it type thing. Okay. So Skull and Bones was founded in 1832 by William Huntington Russell and Alfonso. It doesn't say his surname actually. So the people who are members are called Bonesmen. The society is informally known as Bones. They've got assets all over America, and I'd imagine the whole world, but America particularly. And they've been going a very long time. 1832 is extremely long.
What university was it they started in?
Oh my God, I have got that. Give me a sec. Yale.
It was either Yale or I was going to say it was one of them.
Yeah, so they basically they started in 1832. Then in 1856 they became like a trust and incorporation, which is when it became a bit more official, and they started to get some money behind them. The first extended description of the Skull and Bones Secret Society was published in 1871. by a guy called Lyman Bagg, which was a book called 4 Years at Yale. So it wasn't just about them, but it had a description of the skull and bones. And he noted that, so his book was about Yale, basically, and his 4 years there. But there was I'm not sure if it was a chapter or just like a brief description. But in that, he said that the mystery of now attending these meetings was used to be one of gossip, and now was clear, and it was never, he never discussed, never tires of discussing it. Basically saying that it's really weirdly worded, because this obviously from 1871, but he was basically saying that, when he first got there, it was like a rumor, and by the time he left, people were discussing it quite openly, and it had grown. They select new members among students every spring as part of Yale University's Tap Day. I'm not 100% sure what Tap Day is, but I'm assuming it's something similar to what, like Freshers Week, what we have in Britain, where you have all the new, the new recruits of the university for that year. They started including women in 1990s. They select 15 men and women from the junior class to join the society each year. So obviously it's growing, pretty by 15, 30 people a year, which is quite a considerable number when you think it's a secret society. Some rumored famous members: George H.W. Bush, George Bush Jr., Paul Giamatti, the actor. Obviously, there's a lot of conspiracy theories behind the skull and bones. Again, linked to 9/11. What I find interesting about this is I went to a couple of different websites to research it, and nearly everyone. So I sort of start on Wikipedia, and then I sort of work my way through. A lot of them were worded exactly the same, like word for word, which to me is a bit weird, because it's like, why are they all the same? There should be some sort of difference on different websites, but it could be anything, and it could be that they just used the same books and research to do their sort of stuff. But that was a bit weird. But obviously, one of the biggest conspiracy theories for the skull and bones is surrounding the Bush family, who I think it was Alex Jones did like a big sort of documentary on George Bush. I think it's a documentary about George Bush and Skull and Bones was actually pre 9/11, but it gained a lot of traction post 9/11. Obviously, he did a lot after 9/11, but I'm sure that the one about Skull and Bones was actually before 9/11.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about that, but I know it was it was that sort of era. It's not a great deal of info to be, known. Obviously, they got some famous members. They're very powerful in the American government. Obviously, I just named two former presidents of America who were members, so straight away that they've got a certain level of certain level of guy who's the top. The upper echelons of the skull and bones are obviously the very top of society, if you like. Not necessarily
the top players of the world.
Yeah, and I think I would say that they're probably a large part of the American government now. I bet you if you went around and they all had to tell you who they were members of, and I bet you the skull and bones one would be.
Well, there'd be a few, definitely.
Full of them.
But I think it's just that's the famous one. I think all the big American universities have got their own little secret society, haven't they?
Yeah. All right. I was saying about the Alex Jones Masons thing. It wasn't the Masons. So hang on. Let me just read this. Right. So the Masons have got strong links with the secret selective secret and semi-secret societies, such as Skull and Bones, the Rhodes Scholars, and also Bohemian Grove, which is that Bohemian Grove. That's where the Alex Jones thing was, where they had all on the. So there was like hundreds of them in this big mansion. They had the torture. They had big red cloaks on, covering their heads and body, and they were like screaming, like really, really, like not like yelling, like screaming, like banshees, and it's really unsettling to watch. Like, so yeah, that was Bohemian Grove. That's where that was. So if you want to check that out, it's an Alex Jones documentary about secret societies, I believe. Obviously, there's some people who think that all of the ones we just mentioned have got the Ku Klux Klan is like an offshoot of them, where the people in the Ku Klux Klan have made it more about race and like white power and this type of thing, rather than the Freemasons or the Skull and Bones, who is about like a fraternity and whatever they're about.
Yeah.
Like, so that it's not just the Ku Klux Klan. There's something called the Orange Order, but I'm not 100% sure what they're about, so I can't say too much about them. But yeah, I just came across that, so I thought I'd add that in. Okay.
There's Northern Ireland, mate.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what? Like the IRA and stuff like that, or
I'm not 100% sure.
Don't want to get that wrong, mate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're Protestant.
I don't know, mate. I like I say, I just came across that bit. I saw Bohemian.
You see the Orange March and things like that in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
It's all to do with that. Well, what were they called? I'm sure they were the Loyal Orange Organisation or the Loyal Orange Institution.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically that's Northern Ireland.
Ah, right. Okay. So we just touched on the Skull and Bones. I had a bit of trouble finding anything of, real note, other than they've got members in Germany. So, okay. The group Skull and Bones is featured in conspiracy theories, which claim that the society plays a role in the global conspiracy for world control. Theorists such as Alexandra Robbins suggest that the Skull and Bones is a branch of the Illuminati, having been founded by a German university alumni following the order's suppression in their native land by Karl Theodore. So basically, what's that saying is when the Illuminati was outlawed, the Skull and Bones was born by the people who had been previously members of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it. Because obviously the Illuminati was banned, wasn't it? But
I think every single secret society out there nowadays comes from the Illuminati, according to someone, doesn't it?
Yeah. So let's get this right, because people get confused sometimes, and they say, "Oh, Illuminati, New World Order." The Illuminati started as a legit secret society.
Yeah.
Similar to Skull and Bones, or similar to the Freemasons and all this sort of stuff. And then obviously they still wanted this knowledge and power type thing, but they were quite open about it, but in a secret way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like the Illuminati was started to basically rise against the people they are now.
Yeah,
it was started by lower echelons of society who had intelligence, and said it was basically the world's first protests.
Yeah, because wasn't it something like they felt like the governments were not, because they obviously the education back then in the 1700s, it wasn't like it is now, where everybody is entitled to it and everyone gets it. It was almost held for the rich, and the poor were forced to, be servants and live rough.
Yes, no, it was the Illuminati. It was the 1700s, wasn't it, in Bavaria?
Yeah, that's it.
That it started. But I think it was more so. It was basically Bavarian peasants who rose against everything at once, not just the government. They rose against religion, government, pretty much anyone and everyone who was above them and controlling their life as such. Same as what people moan about the government nowadays, Guy Fawkes, all of them. It's all standing up against the big bully.
Yeah, they were opposed.
Power preps.
Yeah,
and now the Illuminati is the big bully.
Yeah, so like their society goal, they started in the 1st of May 1776, and the society's goals were to oppose superstition, obscurantism, I'm not even sure what that is, religious influence over public life, and abuse of state power.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, they were against like using people. Obviously, back then they would use things like witchcraft, which would be the superstition, and religion to influence the people to do what they wanted to do, and they would abuse their power in turn. Along with Freemasonry and other secret societies, they were outlawed through an edict by Bavarian ruler Charles Theodore, with the encouragement of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So obviously, in those early days, the Illuminati was very, locking heads with the churches and religious leaders.
They were the science. They were the science side of it.
Yeah,
they say all the great scientists were Illuminati, don't they? Da Vinci, Michelangelo, all of them.
Yes, they were banned by this Charles Theodore, who's a Bavarian ruler, with the encouragement of the Catholic Church, 1784, 85, 87, 1790. So it was an ongoing thing. They seems like they would get outlawed and then they'd be lifted and then they'd be outlawed. And it went on for a good 6 years by the looks of it. But because people found Freemasonry to be expensive, this guy founded his own society, which was to have a system of ranks and grades based similar to the Freemasonry, but with his own agenda. His original name for the new order was the It's German. This is going to be butchered completely. Wunderperfekte Blitzen, or I should have just said it in English. Fuck it. Why didn't I just say it in English? The Convent of Perfectibility, which I should have just said in the first place. But he later changed it because it sounded too strange. So like you say, it was almost like they were the science and these were the church. The church had influence over the leaders, and they needed to, they did cause like a bit of an uprising, and they must have been getting somewhere because they banned them, and you don't get outlawed unless you're starting to gain some traction.
The thing is with the church, especially back then, religion controlled everything.
Yeah.
So as soon as science started proving some of these religious theories to be just science, that's basically you're going against God, the infallible. You're not allowed to do that. That's wrong. So they close it down.
Yeah. So the modern Illuminati, it says several recent and present day fraternal organizations claim to be descended from the original Bavarian Illuminati. They openly use the name Illuminati. Some of these groups use the variation on the name, like the Illuminati Order, or in name of their own organizations, while others, such as the Italian ones, which I'm not going to say, but it's basically Order Tempori, Order Tempori Orientis, which, they sounds like there's a lot of offshoots and people who use the Illuminati name for their sort of secret societies or their protest groups. Even now, it says there's no evidence that these present-day groups have any real connection to the historic order. They have not amassed a single political power or influence, and most, rather than trying to remain secret, promote their links to the Bavarian Illuminati, which means by means of trying to attract membership. So I think those groups, like this Illuminati order, and a lot of these modern groups who try and go by the name or use the Illuminati name, they're probably nothing to do with it. They're just trying to start their own thing for whatever reasons, and they use the name to try and get people interested, get members joining. The actual Illuminati now is, like we touched on slightly, in that they're the real deal. You know, they're the guys and girls who run the world, and they go by, a lot of people call them the New World Order due to that George Bush speech, where, so basically the New World Order theory is that people believe that the Illuminati and the New World Order, they want a one world government with one currency, which will just rule all. You know, and there's various reasons. People are against it, etc., etc. But people believe that that's their ultimate goal, is to have a one world government with one currency and rule over everyone. And they believe that they're positioning people of power, and they're causing these terrorist attacks and atrocities and destabilizing countries all around the world to ultimately achieve this goal, which obviously, to get to that point where everyone wants just one world government, is going to take a lot of doing over a lot of years. And people believe that that's their ultimate plan. So before we just go on to that anymore, do you believe, like, that last bit to be true about the New World Order and the ultimate plan and that type of stuff?
Yes and no. I don't think they've got an ultimate plan, because it just keeps changing. But there's gotta be somebody running the show of everyone. There's a couple of countries who you can see. I don't think it's one person. No, one person would never be allowed this much power. There would always be too many people wanting to take that person out. It'd be a big group of people. You know, it's going to be, I don't know, 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
You know, they may not be world leaders as such, but they're going to be
just around that.
Well, you say that, you know, they're going to be someone who's known. Look at the Rothschilds. No one hardly knows anything about them at all, or who they. You could show the whole family pictures to 90% of the world, and they wouldn't know who it is.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're the richest family, the most powerful family on this planet.
I think. Do you know what I think? You know the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's like all the members of the royal families from around the world, government. Yeah. And these special people, only select, you know, not all of them, just select leaders from around the world. They all meet in this hotel, changes each year, sometimes in America, sometimes in Europe. And whenever they meet, they never announce it. People only know about it because journalists have tracked it down. They close off the hotel to the general public. You're not allowed within a couple of miles of this whatever hotel it's at. Literally complete blackout. There's no pictures from inside it. And I just think that's where they're doing their planning. So like you said, the plan's changed. They may have wanted just a one world government and a one world currency and all that type of thing back in whenever it was, when George Bush did that speech. But now they've probably had to change and chop. You know, they've gone with, as things change, you know, as you do with anything in life. Like, plans change. You've got to be fluid, haven't you, I suppose?
The thing is, to bring in
meetings.
To bring in a one world currency, it sounds very simple, but there's so many countries you'd have to totally, utterly change and revolutionize to bring in a currency. It's never going to be doable. So they've got to find other ways. Look at the euro. Imagine if you, instead of just one world currency, let's knock it down to 5 or 6 and we'll pick a continent for each one.
Yeah.
You know, they tried it with the euro. It hasn't worked.
My my main sort of not issue, but like, I just think all these people, they're meeting in secret. They're meeting in secret for a weird reason, and that reason probably isn't good for us, like the poor people, the people who are not in the upper echelons of society.
Totally, they'll make decisions based on them and their lives.
Yeah, and the fact that they're
that thing
in secret is never going to be good.
One person is very clever, but people are stupid.
Yeah.
When you've got a group of people, I mean, I don't mean the higher echelons, they'll be stupid as well. But you imagine if the whole world knew what they were discussing and wanted to put their 2 pence in. No one would ever get anywhere. So right or wrong, there's got to be somebody making these decisions. They've just got the wrong people making these decisions.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. But I just think that they, you know, if they were just making the decisions for us with all our best interests at heart, they would just say, "Oh, the world leaders are all meeting this week to discuss how we can move forward as a planet." But it's not. It's all in secret. No journalists allowed within 2 miles. No.
They're obviously going to be. They're going to be discussing something underhand and things like that as well. But
things like depopulation.
Take climate change. Everyone knows climate change is a problem. But it could well be this meeting. Their first question could be, right, if we don't do something about climate change within 3 years, this Earth is going to end. Now, if they let that out to the general public, there'd be pandemonium.
Yeah, of course.
They've obviously got the best scientists in the world there. So one of them's going to turn it and go, right, well, what we're going to do is this. So it staves this problem off for another 100 years. We'll never know about that meeting. And to be honest, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I can completely get that. But
the underhand side of it,
yeah,
they're going to be doing that as
well.
Still
say we're having a meeting to discuss various subjects to help us move forward together or whatever. But the secrecy and the press blackouts and the not just the press blackouts, no journalists allowed, no one's allowed within, anywhere near it for fear of getting any photos from it. So that's dodgy. Obviously, there's so many conspiracy theories to do with the Illuminati.
Personally, I don't think the Bilderberg Group is. I don't think they're the ones calling the shots. All of them. They're
all there. Like the Rothschilds, the royal family, everyone who's anyone is there. And I
think that meeting is a follow-on meeting from whether it be the New World Order, whoever it might be. They decide what's going on. Then they get all the royals and all the leaders and everyone else together and they tell them what's going on. They don't decide. It's already been decided.
Oh, yeah.
I got no society who decide to tell the secret society to decide.
Yeah, I think there's... I think the people who the general public believe to be in charge of the world, whether it's the president or the queen or whoever...
They're just the puppets.
They're not. Yeah, they're just there. They're just figureheads. They're not making the big decisions.
Come on, look at Donald Trump. Yeah. Who the fuck is going to let him run a country? He's not making final decisions. Come on.
No, it's people like the Rothschilds and the Bushes.
I reckon they were having a drink one night and one of them lost the bet and went, for fuck's sake, I've got to make Trump president. Look where we are. That's all it was. And it'll be like that trading places. He owes his mate $1. It'd be $1 bet or something, and America got Trump as a president because of $1 bet. No way on this earth is that. He can't even be in charge of himself. Have you not seen his hair? And you got people who do it for him.
Yeah.
And they've made him the president of one of the most powerful countries on this earth. I mean,
Yeah, it's a weird one, mate. The obviously, like I said, there's too many conspiracy theories linked to the Illuminati to go through.
Every single conspiracy theory out there is pretty much linked to them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty much. There's always something.
They've got a hand in everything.
You know, the presidents are always claimed to be around the Illuminati and stuff, depending on who it is. Obviously, there's other theories which contend to like a variety of historical events which were organised by the Illuminati: the French Revolution, the Battle of Waterloo, the assassination of President JFK, because obviously he famously said he wanted to get rid of the New World Order, or of secret societies, and like the blanket of secrecy from the CIA and the people behind the scenes who he felt was damaging the country, and to try and hasten a communist plot and this. And obviously with JFK, there's so much going on in the background and in his speeches. The conspiracy stuff with that, it doesn't just revolve around the actual shooting, because there was so much going on around it, with Cuba, with the CIA, with the Illuminati, and with the shooters, and with even the what's his face himself, the shooter himself. There's like some stuff about him being like a communist, and there's so much to get through. Like that one might have to go over an hour. That might have to be like a slightly longer show, because I want to try. Like obviously these first couple, we've sort of generally talked about bits and stuff. Like today, we've just talked about bits of the Freemasons and the bits about the others. As we get towards things like 9/11 and the moon landing and JFK, these types of things, we're going to go into a bit more detail. We'll have like a bit more, not evidence, because I can, but it's so much hassle for me to put in the clips that we discuss afterwards. Even though I was tempted to think about that, like say, like if me and you do our research, and then you send me like a list of clips that you've mentioned, I can add them in as we're speaking. But I don't know. We'll discuss that another time, off the air anyway. So that's secret societies. I think we're both generally in agreement that they exist. You know, they do exist. But I think, like, we kind of agree that they probably got a hand in some pies around the world, and probably the biggest pies of all. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. However, you have changed my opinion slightly on the Freemasons. I don't think they're as bad as what I thought they were. So.
No, like I say, that the higher ranks of it, there may well be some underhand things going on. But I don't think that's down to Freemasonry. I think it's down to just who that individual is, and they happen to be a Freemason.
Yeah, they just happen to be high up in governments. And
I maybe a few hundred years ago there was something more secretive and underhand.
Yeah,
with them years ago, but now it's just, I think that's moved on to a different secret society as such. And now, like I say, it's just an excuse for a load of men to have a social evening out now and then.
Oh, so did you say the forget-me-not flower? The Masons, yeah. So wasn't that first used by like the Grand Lodge? Oh, what was it? Grand Lodge Son. Like his name was Son, in the 1920s and stuff, and he was like a proper Masonic emblem, which they used to use at like the annual conventions. I think it started in Germany, and what happened was it was made in the same factory that was the the fuck's sake, the Nazi Party, the National Socialist People's Welfare Party, which was the welfare branch of the Nazis. And what that did is that enabled people who were Freemasons to wear the badge as a secret sign of membership during that time in Germany. So then after World War II, the forget-me-not flower was used again as a Masonic emblem in like the 40s, mid-40s, late 40s. And that's how it actually became like an ongoing thing, because they could wear it in secret without being noticed. And then it was adopted by people after the World War II finished. And that's actually how it came about to be a long-term, like a secret symbol on, and they wear it like on the coat lapels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the badge, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was just flicking through the stuff I had, and then I saw the stuff by the forget-me-not. So I thought I'd just add that.
So they could recognise each other without others knowing, basically.
Yeah. I'm sure there's many like little things that the secret societies have got, like little lapels and little badges, little pins and handshake.
Like I say, the amount of my friends who've been like, "Oh, show me the secret handshake," and I'll shake their hand and do the handshake, and they're like, "Well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "I've already done it." And I'll shake their hand 3 times, and I'll do the 3 different levels of masonry that I know, and they're like, "You haven't done anything different," and I'm like, "I've done something totally different each time."
It's mad, that, isn't it? Cool though. It is. I do find it kind of interesting. Like, it's kind of cool, like in a way. Okay, so that's secret societies. You can find Rhys on Twitter. It's at Shaw Celtic. You can find us on Twitter. It's at acecast_nation. Subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell, and then you'll be notified every time we upload. We've got loads of cool shows coming up. We'll have another conspiracy theory show next week. That's this one show which is constant every week. We've got interviews with Di from Tenors of Rock coming up next week. We've got an interview with Ash Rose from WWE Gorilla Position. I got a couple of ex-Cardiff City footballers coming on over the next couple of weeks. Got an MP coming on. Got some sports psychologists coming on. There's loads and loads of cool guests of all different subjects. Got mental health shows, football, music, films. It's just non-stop podcasts at the moment. But what's really motivating me to keep going is the fact that in 2 weeks we've gone from 51 followers on Facebook to 3,650 before we started recording, which is incredible. I didn't even expect to have that after 6 months when I first started. So to have it after like 7 weeks is incredible. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone who watches, everyone who follows, everyone who shares, subscribes, everything. Thank you to Rhys. Thank you to all my guests, all the people who agreed to come on. My wife for letting me do non-stop podcasts and not put the kids to bed as much as I should. Everyone, thank you. Thank you for watching. See you next week. I might be a little bit drunk. I don't know. See you later. Nice one, Rhys. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, Si. Always a pleasure, mate.